All right, A pushers. So I'm going to walk you through this planning framework for the DBQ and just kind of tell you what you need to do on this. So first off, of course, you're going to look at the DBQ. The DBQ that you're going to be working with is 5 documents as opposed to the typical 7 or 8 documents, which has been on a regular DBQ. You're only going to deal with 5. Documents on this DBQ. So you're going to look at the prompt. What is the prompt asking you to do? And figure out, are you being asked to do a comparison contrast? Are you being asked to do a causation essay? Are you being asked to do a continuity and change over time essay? Usually one of those will say something like, what changed as a result of this? And what remained the same, or something along those lines. So you want a thesis. What is your thesis going to be? What's your opinion on this topic? What are you being asked to do? What's your opinion? How can you defend that opinion? You come up with a thesis. You guys know what a thesis is, right? Remember, make sure you don't basically restate the prompt. Oh, nay, nay. That's not going to work. You cannot just restate the prompt and throw in a couple of words or maybe switch words around or whatever. You cannot just simply restate the prompt. It has to be an original, arguable, defendable thesis, opinion on the matter. And you got to give context, just like on the LEQ that you guys did earlier. You got to give some context. Tell the reader the bigger story, the bigger picture that's happening. And if you remember the essay hourglass outline that we did, the context works really well in the opening of the paragraph. The thesis would be at the very end of the paragraph. Just like in an LAQ, your thesis has to be in the first or it has to be in the last paragraph. Make sure you do that. Give it some context. And then you're going to begin to work through the documents. On the documents, what you do not absolutely, positively, completely, totally, never, ever, ever, ever want to do is use a long quote for the document or just write about what the document is. You don't want to do that. Ideally, what you want to do is summarize what the document is saying. In your own words, tell me what the document says or what the document does or what the document shows. Okay? Don't use long quotes. If you do quote from it, have it be a very, very short quote, part of a sentence, maybe a couple of words from the document, but don't quote long passages from the document. That just chews up time and it tells the grader that you really don't know what the document means. So summarize it. Tell the reader what it means, okay, what it is about. If you're using a picture, every DBQ that you ever use will have some sort of visual document. Don't tell the reader what the document shows. The reader can see what the document shows, right? You would never see somebody wearing, say, a blue shirt and say, oh, you're wearing a blue shirt today. They know they're wearing a blue shirt. What you want to do is tell the reader why this document is showing what it shows, or what this document means with the visual depiction is, right? You want to tell the person wearing the blue shirt, I think you're wearing a blue shirt because you look really good in blue. It's your favorite color, whatever, right? Don't tell the reader what the document shows if it's a visual representation. Explain the significance of it. Don't quote long passages from a document. Summarize in your own words what that document means. Also, you want to include CAP, C-A-P-P. So CAP is a sourcing piece, and this is on the rubric for the DBQ. You have to include this on the DBQ, or within the DBQ. It's on the rubric. You got to include this within the DBQ. So CAP means context. What's the larger picture for this particular document? If you do context, it has to be different than this context, right? This context is different from this context. This context is specifically about this document. This context, the larger context, is about the larger issue surrounding the prompt, if that makes sense, right? You can't double dip, essentially. You can't say, oh, I already did context here, so if I'm going to do context for the cap here, I've already done it. You can't do it. It has to be two very different things. Or you can do the intended audience. Who's intended to be, who is the intended audience for this document? Don't ever say, ever say, well, I think it's all Americans. Well, I think it's all Democrats. I think it's all Republicans. I think it's all the humans. Never say that. Never, ever, ever. That is never the intended audience. Everything that you say, everything that you do, there is an intended audience for it. If it happens to get out to the larger group and it happens to be seen or accessed by everybody, great. But you do have a very specific intended audience. Okay, so who is the intended audience for that particular document? Be very specific. Don't say it's everybody, it's all Americans, because that's never the intended audience. Or you can do point of view. What is the author's point of view? What does the author of this document believe? Or what is this author of this document, what do they want? What is that author's particular view? And then explain a little bit about why they have that point of view or what their point of view is. Or you can do purpose. What's the purpose of this document? Was this document meant to get people angry? Was this document meant to inform people? Was this document meant to try to get people to take action? Was this document meant to make people sad? Was this meant to make people scared? What was the purpose of this document? And then explain how this document shows that purpose. If this document was meant to make people angry, how does this document, what in this document would make people angry, was designed to make people angry? So you have to have cap for your documents. Okay, and a cap can be, you can do context, or you can do intended audience, or you can do point of view, or you can do purpose. You just need to do one of those items for the document. And you need to have cap. You should have cap for all of the documents that you're going to deal with. You can mix and match, right? If you do context on one document, you can do point of view on another document, and then you can do purpose on a different document, right? Just mix and match. And don't just say, well, the point of view of the author was they didn't like such and such, and that's it. You have to go a little further than that. Explain how that's shown in this document. Explain how you know that, okay? So that's cap. It's just basically sourcing information, okay? It says on here, provide all four parts. Honestly, I'm just going to look for one part of cap for this document, okay? And then you need outside info. Okay? Give me a piece of information that relates to this document, but is not included in this document. It is not mentioned in this document. Outside info can be anything if it's not specifically from that document, okay? So a lot of times in DBQs, they'll give you a partial document, part of a document. And outside info, if you know that document, would be another part of that document that's not mentioned in that document, right? So outside info is just anything that relates to this that is not specifically included in the document, okay? And then you just repeat the process for the rest of the documents throughout. It's just the exact same thing, okay? And then we have the unicorn point. We've talked about the unicorn point before. I want you to try for it on this particular DBQ. When you do an actual DBQ, worry about the easy points before you go after the unicorn point. Unicorn point is really difficult, right? It's a more in-depth view of the prompt, right? So you can discuss similar issues that were affected other people or societies. You can compare, contrast a situation with other situations that happened throughout history. So, talking about the American Revolution, you could talk about how the American Revolution influenced the French Revolution, right? That might be a way that you could go after the unicorn point if you explained it fairly well, right? You showed the similarities and you showed the influences. If you want to talk about the British colonial experience in America, you could do a comparison contrast with the American colonial experience under the British and the Indian in India colonial experience under the British, and how are those similar and how are they different, right? That would be a way to get the unicorn point. Try it. I want you to try to go after it here. But again, when you write the actual DBQ, focus on the really easy points. So that's the assignment here, right, that you're doing for the DBQ. You got to have thesis. You got to have context, just like an LEQ. And then the document, you want to break it down. And again, you want to summarize the document. Don't quote it. Don't use long quotes. Don't tell the reader what the image shows, right? They know that. Tell them why it's important. Use CAP, apply CAP, which is just sourcing information, context or audience or point of view or purpose, and explain purpose, explain point of view, explain the intended audience, how you know that. And then outside info, anything that's not included within the document. So that's the assignment that you need to do for the DBQ that I've posted. If you have any questions about how to do this, you have any problems, questions, concerns, conundrums, just make sure you get in touch with me. All right, and good luck. I'll talk to you later, Panthers.